All righty, welcome in a Friday edition of the Chico Borman Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. Good to have you along with you until 2 o'clock. We do it each and every day, Monday through Friday, noon to 2. You can follow us, stream us live on Twitter at Chico Show CLE. You can also do so on YouTube. Go to the YouTube page, type in the Chico Borman Show. If you are not yet subscribed, you can type in the show's name, Chico Borman Show. And if you're not subscribed, well, hit the subscribe button. You'll be all set to go, much like Bohm is. Also available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, and, of course, now we are live streaming on the iHeartRadio app. You all right, Bohm? Everything? You still looking at? We still have Crime TV on the studio.
Yeah. You know what? I found the remote though, so I can change it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I left it on something idle, and now I guess it's just like because I left it idle, it's playing something else.
Well, I think somebody else. No, we found out that like there's. I think there's watch parties for other things that go on out in the hallway. And I think it affects this, but maybe. Yeah, it automatic. I will say this. I like the fact if we're not going to have any sports-related content in here, I like the fact that it automatically reverts to crime. Like, I like that because, Dateline, I'm a big Dateline guy. So any kind of crime television is good for me, I think.
By the way, Chico, yeah, I was yesterday I watched a little bit of Chicago PD for the first time in a while. There was a marathon on one channel.
I can't see. I don't really do that. I know people that I will if there's nothing else on, but it's like I already know what's happened, and it's not like a movie. Put it that way. Like a great movie comes on and you've seen it, Shawshank Redemption, whatever. It comes on, and of course you got to watch it. Like with shows, like I'm a big fan of Law and Order and all those other, but when they come on, it's like they'll have the marathons. I already know what happened. There's very few that I haven't seen, and as soon as I know, oh yeah, I saw this episode, I just completely move on. But anyway, but right now, as long as the whole key, Bohm, is keeping you entertained for the full 2 hours, because God knows I can't do it by myself. So that's why we bring in the experts here at Crime Television. Go ahead.
I want to shout out the higher-ups at Big Play for getting me these TVs to help keep my attention.
Yeah, that's... Actually, that could work against us, though.
It could.
Because it's not like you need something to divert your attention. Because if anything, this is... That's how we get to a point where, like yesterday, what was it in Fair or Foul that you brought up? That I had just talked about.
Oh, Friday Big Ten games.
Yeah, Friday Big Ten games. And you're like, so Chico, first and Fair or Foul, the Big Ten might be looking to, or Fox might be looking to air Friday night Big Ten games. I'm like, Bohm, did you not listen at all to the interview we had with Dante? Because the first question we said was...
That's when I'm setting up the shot, Chico. I'm trying to get all the camera angles to look good because...
Look at you, little workshop verbiage. I like that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, lots of tweaking, trial and error.
All right. It is a Friday. What do we say? Yay.
Friday.
So Brad Ward from the OBR is going to join us coming up at 12:30. Did you already send him the email?
Yeah.
Okay. He says it already went through. Brad's wondering where it's at. We'll figure it out. Hey, it's going to be okay. But we'll talk to Brad coming up at 12:30. Here's what I do know, and I don't know if I should feel bad about this fact or just kind of accept it for what it is. You realize we haven't really gotten into, and it's Friday, can the Browns... I don't think the Browns can win this game. I mean, especially now, the news came out yesterday, and yeah, okay, it's official now, more official now, I guess, at P.J. Walker and not Deshaun Watson. And I didn't, as soon as Wednesday hit, and he wasn't on the practice field, I pretty much came to the conclusion he's not going to play. Wednesday to me, and I said it at the time, I'll say it again now, Wednesday to me was the big day. And, it's been a while now. So I think we've been so focused, and this is the reality of the situation is we're only 4 games because of the bye week for the Browns, the early bye. We're only 4 games into this season. There is a lot of football left to be played, And so, there's a part of me, and I need to remind myself of it. I feel like I need to remind others of it, that there's still a lot of football out there. There's still a lot of things that can happen. Obviously a lot of football to be played. I think what has us so upset is we waited so long for Deshaun Watson. And, we were willing. I know I was willing last year, even into preseason. Last year was last year. That wasn't necessarily his fault. It wasn't really anybody's fault. It was what it was. But the reality is we waited damn near 2 years for Deshaun Watson. And here we are, having played a division game and got their asses kicked. When we get our asses kicked, we're all one big happy family. You played a division game against Baltimore. You got absolutely housed. Now you've got the 49ers coming to town, who are 5-0, and clearly, I don't think anybody can question, they are the best team in the league. So if that's what we're talking about, then I feel like with the Browns and this matchup, like we haven't even really gotten into, a little bit, like Dante. We asked Dante Whitner yesterday, how did the Browns win this game? Well, you better be able to run the ball. What's the one thing the Browns haven't been able to do? And certainly it's not going to change anytime soon, because Nick Chubb isn't walking through those doors anymore this season, Rick Pitino. I don't expect the running game to suddenly just flourish on Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. So without much of a running game to speak of, now you're relying on your quarterback. And, oh, by the way, that quarterback is not Deshaun Watson. That quarterback is P.J. Walker, who if you would have told me or anybody, or I told you or anybody, that the Browns were going to play the Ravens followed by the 49ers weeks 4 and 5 of the season. Well, I should say 4 and 6 by the week 5. Weeks 4 and 6. And week 4, they're going to start Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And week 6, they're going to start P.J. Walker. You would have been like, what? Say that again? Oh, and by the way, no Nick Chubb. Like, people would have been jumping into the lake.
Do we have any wins?
Yeah. And see, that's just it. Like, that's kind of, I'm glad you said it that way, Bone, because that's kind of where I'm at right now is, and part of that's on me. Like, we're sending messages out and we're, talking points. Why is it that I'm not talking about the Browns possibly winning this game on Sunday? And I was thinking about this last night and thinking about this morning. I think what it comes down to is the air out of the balloon is really Deshaun Watson. I mean, the air out of the balloon started against Pittsburgh when Nick Chubb went down. But at that point, everybody and anybody said, well, you know what? Deshaun Watson he's going to have to carry the load. Now, there were people that said that anyway, even with Nick Chubb healthy, which wasn't necessarily true. But now, like, okay, no quarterback can just do it all by himself, but there's going to be much more expected out of Deshaun Watson. And there was already quite a bit because of the draft capital you gave up, because of the contract you gave him, all of that sort of thing. So, I mean, the way I look at this, yes, the Browns could win on Sunday. I'm not trying to be a smartass when I say this. They could win on Sunday. I don't think they will win on Sunday. But if they don't win on Sunday and they're 2-3, the reality is there's still a lot ahead. So why is it that we can't get past? Like, it's just we're stuck. And I think it's got to be the Deshaun injury. It's that there's. I think that's what it is, because you've got a defense that you feel really good about, and but you also feel like that defense is probably going to have to turn Brock Purdy over a bunch of times, and the number one scoring defense Sunday night, and the Dallas Cowboys couldn't do it. But hey, they're on the road, and it's a short week for them, and all of that, so maybe that can happen. But I think what it comes down to is this fan base has been dealt a 1-2 punch in Nick Chubb followed by Deshaun Watson, where it's like, whoa, we're wobbly. I mean, our knees are a little, we're wobbly right now. We're heading back to our corner going, okay, it's 2-2. And hell, like we've been saying on the bald breakdown, myself and Nick Shook, that, the highs have been very, very high. That Cincinnati game, Joe Burrow wasn't Joe Burrow. That Cincinnati game, though, that Tennessee game, like, we were feeling damn good. You held a team to 94 yards of total offense. You don't do that in high school. They did it against the Tennessee Titans. But the lows have been, and with lows, we're not just talking losses here. We're talking losses to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you lose Nick Chubb. We're talking losses to the Baltimore Ravens, and you found out 90 minutes before kickoff, and some of his teammates may have found out 90 minutes before kickoff that, you're going with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and now you find out that, well, Deshaun Watson can't go this week. And quite honestly, we don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of mystery. I think it would be easier for some. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. I was going to say, maybe it would be easier for some if there was a concrete answer like, hey, you know what? Give him one more week. He's going to be good. But the bottom line is this thing is going and stretching from anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. So, I mean, it's kind of tough for anybody to get a handle on what has gone on, and maybe more importantly, what's coming. But I think that's it. Like, I was thinking about driving in today. I'm like, we haven't talked about how are the Browns gonna win this game on Sunday, because quite honestly, I don't feel like they have any prayer. And I should I feel bad about that? I mean, and tell me if I should feel bad about that. I want to know. But it really did hit me. I'm like, I haven't even really discussed it.
Chico, I feel like to me the Browns are already conceding this one. Like, it seems like they were on the fence about whether Joel Bitonio and David Njoku were going to play. And if Deshaun were playing, if they felt like they actually had a chance, I feel like these are two guys who would probably be going on Sunday as well. But they're playing it safe because they more than likely don't feel like they have much of a shot.
Well, and that's, what's interesting is, I'm glad you said that, because somebody, and I know he was exaggerating, and I know he was joking, but there was a sliver of truth to it. Like, all right, let's just bench all the starters. Like you said, it does feel like a concession, but then I take some of that blame too, because, well, Chico, and I've always said, I'm not here to be a cheerleader. I'm here to give you my opinions, tell you what I think, and hopefully that's based more on, facts than just random stuff and whatever, logic. But we've gone through seasons where the Browns had nowhere near the talent they had now. But damn it, come Friday, we had this magic formula, which God knows there was no way in hell it was going to happen. But we had this magic formula for how this win's going to come together. I don't have that for Sunday. And, I honestly don't feel that bad about that, if that makes sense. Because and I need to remind myself, like I said at the beginning, that there's still a lot of football to be played. But this has just been the 1-2 punch of Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson really has taken a lot out of us, I think. And, Chubb, you're not even dreaming that you're going to be without him for a full year. And then it's like, well, the guy that you're really going to count on in Nick Chubb's absence, and you waited, and I think this is important, and you waited the better part of 20 months for him to come back. And then when he comes back, it's like we haven't seen him. His best game was Tennessee, and that's just it. We wanted to see some momentum build a little bit. We wanted to see, okay, how does he improve upon? How does he get better from here? And we haven't been able to see that because he's out. So it's just, there's a lot of football to be played. There's still reason to feel hopeful. Baltimore could have run away with this. Baltimore could be 5-0 right now. Baltimore probably, I guarantee you, Baltimore probably feels like they should be 5-0 right now. They had a golden opportunity to beat the Indianapolis Colts, and they let it slip away. They had a golden opportunity to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they let it slip away. That's better for Browns fans. I mean, you can say, well, yeah, but then the Bengals are starting to play well. Okay. I mean, we knew the division was going to be a fight anyway. I think what it is, and we'll touch on this with Brad Ward coming up here in just a bit with the OBR. I think what a lot of this is just that 1-2 punch. And yeah, like even this week, he'll be back. With that bye week and with the Baltimore game, it felt like, okay, he misses the Baltimore game, not ideal. We're not happy about it. But my gosh, the Baltimore game and then a bye, he'll be back against the Niners. And then no, he's not back against the Niners. And then you're saying to yourself, okay, where are we at with this? But there still is. They're 2-2, and there are 13 more games to be played on this schedule. Actually, 12, because I'm not even really counting.
I just got an update from a fantasy app that so it was the Deshaun Watson ruled out, but it said Dorian Thompson-Robinson named starter. But this is the ESPN fantasy app. That's inaccurate, right?
No,
that's inaccurate.
That cannot be right.
Yeah, that's on ESPN, right?
Yeah, that's well.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so.
No. Yeah. Did this just come out?
I got the notification within the last 10 minutes.
Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. Wow. I can't. No, it's got to be. I mean, that's the only thing I did ask, Bohm. The only thing I did ask was that during the bye week, and if Deshaun Watson wasn't going to be able to go, get P.J. Walker up to speed. And I mean, look, I'm not sitting here thinking P.J. Walker is but you can't trot out a rookie in Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who, again, not a knock on him, but you imagine, welcome to the league, 5th-round draft choice, rookie quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Here's the Baltimore Ravens 90 minutes prior to kickoff. There are the keys, don't crash. And then, you know what? Deshaun will probably go, no, okay, kid. And then it's not P.J. Walker, it's you again against the Niners? Wow.
Shades of Nathan Peterman brewing. That was like one of the most brutal starts to a career I can ever recall.
Good. That's a good call on your part, Boom. That's a good pull right there. Nathan Peterman.
Who, by the way, I think is still in the league.
Not to be confused with Jay Peterman. Elaine. Oh, Elaine, my neck is one gargantuan monkey fist. There's only like 10% of the audience that gets that, but that's okay. That was for them. We'll take a break. When we come back in just a bit, 12:30. And the reason we have to is he's saying he didn't get the email, but it's all right. Brad Ward from the OBR will be joining us bottom of the hour, we hope, and we're going to talk about. Well, I'll pose it to him. Like, here's a guy that does podcasts, and here's a guy that, you know, you're doing content, and part of your content each week during a season is, okay, Brown's key to victory. Am I the only one that I don't want to say maybe I'm procrastinating. Maybe on Sunday morning it'll hit me like, wait, here are the keys. Or are there keys? Should we just concede, but then also still feel good that there's a lot of football to be played? We'll be back with more of the Chico Borman Show right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show on this Friday. Good to have you along as we get closer and closer to Sunday, which still has a little bit of an excitement to it. Like, put it this way, and this is why the Browns fans are the best Browns fan or the best fans anywhere in sports, not just the NFL. Coming in, you know, obviously we're here at Burke Lakefront Airport. You got the Muni lot, you've got the airport part. Like they're still rolling in. Cars are getting their spot. They haven't conceded. I feel guilty. I mean, I feel guilty that I haven't really given them any chance in the world of winning on Sunday. But then at the same time, I say, well, do you really think they have a chance to be honest? One of the things that you always say, Chico, is genuine. Be genuine. Don't give a hot take just to give a hot take. Don't be one of those. Do you believe the Browns can win this game? No, I don't. I don't. I mean, yes, it's one of those where you say, well, anything's possible. Yes. Okay, Brad's got it, and he'll join us at 12:30. Brad Ward from the OBR. Good work, Bohm. Good work. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. We'll talk to Brad about that bottom of the hour. By the way, did you watch any of the Chiefs and Broncos last night?
I don't have Amazon, Chico.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I wanted all the T-Swift shots and everything. But
well, that's okay. That's what I
know
was.
They said they were going to keep it like in moderation. Was that not what happened?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I honestly, I wasn't paying attention that much. I was watching a lot of the baseball. Phillies. Whew, wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that one comment is what, but man.
Did you see the video of Arcia in the dugout, like interacting with fans, and Acuna's just like trying to get him to calm down, and then he just puts his shoulder around him so that he'll like just stop turning towards the fans?
Is it okay? I'll digress here a little bit and go into that a little bit. Let me just say this. I think it's fair to say, like, I don't necessarily blame Arcia, but I also don't blame the fans or blame the media. Like, the media did nothing wrong. I mean, I'm all for, like, the clubhouse is a sanctuary and all that, but especially, like, come playoff time, you got media all over the place. And even without a postseason game, regular season game, I mean, those guys, you know when you're alone, you know when it's safe, you know when it's not safe. So I don't blame the media. I was going to read this a little bit later on. There was a post from one of the media members who was getting blamed along with somebody else, and she absolutely nailed it. But we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. All I'm going to say is, like, I don't think that's the reason. I mean, come on. Is that the reason Philadelphia won? No. I mean, really, you look at the Dodgers and the Braves, and the thing you expected from both of those clubs is that, okay, the starting rotation, it might be iffy, but both clubs are going to hit. And they really didn't. I mean, Austin Riley showed up, but, I mean, the Braves' bats took a snooze at the worst time. The Dodgers' bats were non-existent. As much as, I mean, their starting rotation. Boom, their starting rotation in 3 games went 4 2/3 and gave up 13 earned runs, an ERA of like 25. But equally as bad, and I'll even say worse, is that Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, none of those guys showed up. And it's kind of the same thing, not to that extent, for the Braves. But anyway, I got to get back to the Thursday night game because Al Michaels said something, and I loved it. Because I think now there's a level of, discomfort with how to handle T. Swift, Travis Kelce. I'm not saying with fans I honestly, it doesn't bother me that much. I don't watch a game and say, oh my God, I'm missing a play, and I don't want to. I can go either way. I'm certainly not to the point where I want to throw things at my TV because, I mean, I don't dislike her. But Al Michaels, Al Michaels in the 4th quarter of the game says, "Boom, what are you watching? You're like, your eyes are bugging out of your head. They're fixated on the TV. What are you watching?"
I'm trying to, like, neutralize them.
You really do have, like, an ADD thing going on. Like, you can't focus on.
I mean, I'm still listening.
You're constantly looking out. No, you're not, though.
I wanted to hear what you were going to say about what Al Michaels said.
Al Michaels referred to Taylor Swift as Travis. He goes, "There's Travis Kelce's buddy and girlfriend."
Oh,
it was actually, it was kind of cool, and like for the most part, he hasn't gotten any bad remarks on it, but like some of the Swiftie fans are saying, "Oh, buddy, what do you?" But I mean, I just think that's where a lot of the announcers are at right now. Not necessarily fans, but when you're an announcer and, I mean, you're not in the truck. Al Michaels, I'm sure, and Kirk Herbstreit and, all the other guys doing games, they have certainly a say on replays and what they want to see. But I don't think even Al Michaels, the juggernaut that Al Michaels, the enterprise that Al Michaels is, even Al Michaels doesn't have the authority to just go down to the truck and go, all right, I want no Taylor Swift shots. So when it comes up, I think some of them are just a little like, okay, how do I want to react? But that was, to me, it was vintage Al Michaels. Like, well, there's Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce's buddy and girlfriend.
I wonder what the numbers were on that game, because that was an awful matchup. I mean, obviously seeing KC play, but
KC didn't look that good. I mean, 19 points, whatever it was. Yeah, they didn't. I mean, their offense didn't look great. Like I said, I was mainly watching baseball, but I was flipping back and forth.
You know what, Chico? They've been shaky this whole season. Like, Mahomes has not been full on. We're not getting the full Patrick Mahomes that we've seen in seasons past.
But see,
thus far,
I feel like this is, and Brad Ward's going to join us here in just a bit from the OBR. I feel like this is one of those two where, remember last year they said the same thing, like, look at Mahomes, he's struggling, the offense, and then we have to remember. And I have to remember. I have to remind myself of this. This is just not what we're used to. I don't want to say what we're used to. Like, if you watch the NFL 20 years ago, what you're seeing in the first month is not what you're seeing now. Like, you just have too many teams because of what you can, or better said, can't do with the new CBA and the new rules. Teams aren't ready to play in September. It's just a matter of who's most ready to play and then who can really get it turned on when it really matters later in the year. All right, let's bring him in. He's Brad Ward with the OBR, and he joins us here on the Chico Borman Show on the Big Play Sports Network. So, Brad, I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show, but I'll catch you up here. So, round about yesterday afternoon, before we got the news that Deshaun Watson was officially out, even though, I'll be honest, I felt on Wednesday he was going to be out. Before we got that news, I was thinking to myself, and I'm like, damn, I haven't even really had a show or much of a segment where I've, talked about how the Browns can win this game. And, and part of me initially feels like, well, am I doing the fans a disservice or the listeners a disservice? And then I start thinking to myself, well, honestly, I don't think they do have a chance to win this game Sunday. So how are you going about this week? Because it just seems really, really odd that I haven't even really given it much thought how the Browns can beat the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday afternoon, because I don't think they can.
Well, Chico, everybody's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out, man. Everywhere you look, everybody's freaking out. So it feels like we're constantly battling against that, right, narrative. I did a show, pardon me, last night, and there was a San Francisco fan who had just popped in the chat, and they were like, hey, I popped in to see what you guys were talking about us, but you guys aren't talking about us. You're talking about your quarterback. Well, same thing, right? Same thing. Everybody's freaking out. I mean, so I understand, but I'm not buying into the conspiracy theories and stuff, Chico.
Oh, which are what are the conspiracy theories?
I mean, just, Deshaun doesn't want to play. Deshaun's mad. The players are upset. There's all that stuff out there. And the locker room is a mess. And I don't know where it's all coming from. I kind of do know where it's stemming from, a little bit. But the overreaction to a Juan Thornhill tweet, which we find out had nothing to do with Deshaun Watson, right?
Right.
Cryptic tweet. And listen,
I remember
think
cryptic tweets. I remember cryptic tweets were like an everyday occurrence in Cleveland. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. LeBron James, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah. So, listen, I think that the messaging from Stefanski and Andrew Barry has been poor surrounding the injury. And because of that, it has led to this mass hysteria around this, right? We're making so much of a big deal of this injury when it is a big deal, but I don't think there's anything other than they just failed at evaluating the timeline for his recovery, right? I
okay.
think that's what it was.
So let me stop you a little bit, because I think I'm with you, and that's why I asked you, like, what conspiracy theories are you? There's a few that, yes, I think are ridiculous. Like right now, is the locker room totally like divided? No. I will say this though, Brad. Joe Thomas said on Monday that he was at the walkthrough Saturday, and there wasn't a whisper that he wasn't going to play. So I think initially, I'm not saying right now, but I absolutely 100% believe that on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock, there were probably more than a few guys that were like, we're getting ready to play the Baltimore Ravens, and all of a sudden we get word that it's our rookie. Like, I'm sure that didn't, because, you've heard guys say this all the time, past and present. If there's one thing that they want more than anything else, is you just better be ready to play. Now, again, if Deshaun couldn't go, he couldn't go. But I think the fact that it took everybody by surprise, and like I said, that's telling to me when Joe Thomas is at the walkthrough Saturday and he openly comes out and says, like, there wasn't even a thought in anyone's mind that he was not going to play. And he said that's players as well. So I don't think it's dividing the locker room now. Is Deshaun mad? He might be a little upset that Kevin Stefanski set it up as it was like a pain tolerance thing, because let's face it, that's another way of saying, well, how much of a man are you? Whether it be true or not, that's kind of, so I'm sure he's a little upset about that. Here's what I do think is true, though, Brad. I think Deshaun Watson, with everything that has gone on in the last couple of years, I do think that he is very, very much aware and hypersensitive to the idea of, if I go out and play and give it a go and I'm not 100%, and because of that, or a large part of that is because, we lose the game because I don't play well, I don't think he even wants to think about the criticism, and no, he doesn't want to be in that situation. I think he does fear that sort of situation, whereas he might not have feared that years ago.
That makes sense, right? I totally buy that. Like the idea that he doesn't want to go out there and push it at 80% and fail and look bad because of it, where, in the past he may have been more fearless in regards to his own characterization, right, as a player.
Right.
So now he is very sensitive, maybe, or more sensitive to the criticisms of his game, because he's trying to build it back up, right? So any bad outing has repercussions in that process. The last time we saw him, he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I just think his confidence, as simple as saying, I think his confidence, and not necessarily anything that's happened on a field, but like, again, this is where we say they're not robots, they're human beings. I just think there's no way a guy can go through what he's gone through to his own doing, much to his own doing, and I'm not going to go into detail there, not taking sides or anything, but the stuff that he has dealt with and continues to deal with and will be dealing with for many, many years to come, I don't think anybody can just say, well, shut that off, go out and play for 3 hours, you'll be good. I just think that's, the reality is it is on his mind. And he also knows that I don't have a whole lot of goodwill and money in the bank as far as that goes. So if I go out there, lay an egg, we lose, these fans and every fan base out there is going to be like, Deshaun, I think he is a little sensitive to that kind of thing right now.
Yeah, I can buy that. I think that's certainly in play. I don't. So, like, Stefanski's presser after the Ravens game, not post game, but the day after, where he said that he was medically cleared.
Yeah.
That was very out of character for Stefanski, right? Like, who plays everything close to the vest. He kind of threw him under the bus a little bit. And I don't think he meant to necessarily.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yep.
But it came out poorly. And then you got the reassurance that he was going to play after the bye from him, right? And Andrew Berry. So I understand why people are like, what the heck's going on here, right? Like, this is crazy. But, if he has a bruised rotator cuff or a rotator cuff contusion, which is a bruise, so same thing, right? And it's inflamed and there's some fluid in there, and he can't. It restricts his motion, which I think is probably what we're talking about here. I don't think we're talking about pain management. I think we're talking about restriction of motion
or his faculties, as Kevin Stefanski said. He doesn't have all his faculties.
that was very poor wording.
I have greatly improved my vocabulary since Kevin Stefanski's become head coach, and Andrew Berry for that matter. Greatly.
Well, when you say somebody's faculties aren't right, aren't you talking about like their mind, like their brain? Like he doesn't have all these faculties, like he's not thinking straight. So I don't even know if that's the correct wording, but I think he really stepped off with that one. But the messaging has been very poor. And because of that, there's a lot of everybody's freaking out. And I listened to the radio yesterday, and I was like, by the time I got to my show last night, I felt like I just had to try to be the voice of reason, I guess, like a little bit, right? Like, relax. Like, I think, I don't think anybody's trying to screw anybody over here.
No.
Here's
Here's my theory. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
Because again, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this over the last 48 hours, and really kind of looking at myself and going, okay, are you reacting to this, in a kind of like the way you're describing? And my thought is this: at 2-2. To your point, and you're 100% right on this, Brad. You're 2-2. There are 13 more games left. This division is still wide open, and Baltimore's got to be kicking themselves for. They should be 5-0 at this point, but it's wide open. So we knew that going in that it was going to be tough, and you can still go out and win this division, and Deshaun Watson can come back at some point and be good, and we just forget about this. I think what it is the combination of the 1-2 punch of losing Nick Chubb, and then, okay, well, if we lose Nick Chubb, man, there's just no substitute, and but, okay, Deshaun's going to, and then you're like, wait a minute, now Deshaun's gone. So it's like you waited 20 months, and you're going, where's this guy that we thought we were getting? I think that 1-2 punch is what has the fan base, myself included maybe, kind of just like, and in that sour mood that you're describing. Because you're right, it's definitely out there. That's not your imagination.
Yeah, and I get that totally. Like, because listen, like, think about it, right? So week 1, we're waiting for this offense, Deshaun Watson, everything, the rain game, right? The rain game. So Stefanski has to pivot, right? Back to kind of old Stefanski. They're on the ball almost the whole game. They win, right? Okay, good move. Great. Get out of the rain game. Week 2, you lose Nick Chubb. Devastating injury halfway through the game. Week 3 is really the only game we've seen a game plan from Stefanski and Watson together through from start to finish without anything crazy happening, right? So that was the only game, and he played well. And then he gets hurt on the play at like the 5-yard line, right? He plays the rest of the game. I think they did take him out at the end, though, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the next week you get DTR, and then you get the bye, and now he's not ready to go back yet. So, like, I don't know. I just think that probably initially he was like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. The pain, the drugs they got, pain tolerance, whatever, I'll be fine, right?
We got some good drugs back there.
They got some great drugs back there, I'm sure. But when it comes to time to do, to throw the football, he's like, I can't even push the ball down the field more than 10 yards, right? Like, even with the pain tolerance, it's just, if your rotator cuff is not cooperating, it's in charge of all movement in front of your body, right? So any kind of follow through is going to be restricted. So I think they miscalculated what the injury was and the recovery timeline for the injury. I think Stefanski did. I think the entire organization did, including Deshaun. And then here we are. And people want answers. Well, I think the answer is probably really, he just needs some more time. I do think there might be something to what you're saying about the sensitivity to going out at less than 100% and performing well, right? Especially against this team, which is interesting. I do think there may be something to that, but my best hope is, like, if he's not 100% and I'm the Browns, Chico, I don't think I want to play him this week anyways.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother. Now it's like, well, Joel Bitonio's not. You know what? That's what I feel like. Okay, now we're to the original question that I asked you coming on the air. I'm not even looking at this game, and I don't feel bad saying this, but I'm really not looking at this game as one that, let's talk about the keys to victory. Scratch that. There are no keys to victory because they're not going to win. And I hate saying that. We've gone through years and years where they had no business winning football games because their roster was terrible. Everything was terrible. And we still would somehow find a way come Sunday to convince ourselves that they could win the game. Whereas now they've got the talent, but it's just at the key positions. And with this team coming in, you're like, this is just recipe for disaster. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, the line jumped to 10 real quick last night when they ruled Watson out for good. I mean, I thought the line at 7, at 7 was including the Watson injury. So it jumped to this, I guess not. So Vegas, as it last I saw was at 10. And I don't, this team is really, really good, right? Like, on Thursday Night Football last night, after the game, they started talking about the Niners running the table, right? Like, people think they can run the table. People think this team can go undefeated. I think that's a little far-fetched, but here's my one pushback on this, right? And I did a little bit last night, and it's not a pushback because I think they're a fantastic team, outstanding, but they've only played 5 games this year, and none of them have been competitive. Like, so I did my behind enemy lines piece. The guy from the Niners is like, we had one quarter, maybe a quarter and a half of competitive football in the Giants game. That's about it, right? And so nobody has challenged them. And I think the one thing that the Browns do have is this is probably the best defense they will have seen all year. So what we can hope for, Chico, I think, is it rains. I think rain's in the forecast, right?
Okay.
It rains, heavy winds, muck it up, ugly rock fight, right? Browns defense dominates, and you get an upper echelon performance out of PJ Walker, which is hard to put all in one sentence, but that's kind of what you got to hope for. I don't think this team's unbeatable, right? I mean, if there ever was,
I think Sunday they are. I think Sunday they are. I don't see
probably
because
you're probably right.
I guess what I'm thinking about, and like to your point about like conditions, and it's I think it's a fair one to raise. And the other thing is, oh yeah, by the way, they've got to travel 3,000 miles, whatever it is, clear across the country. That's not fun for anybody. Yeah, exactly. Body clocks are all off, but like they. And this is what makes San Francisco great, and I'm sure you touched on it with your guy, and we were talking about it yesterday with Dante Whitner, and I think everybody's talked about it with San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan. Like, it's they've been calling it eye candy this week. The motion, the shifts, the this, the that. Like, they are going to tax. The defense might play well, and the defense is very capable of playing very well, but they are going to make you defend every last blade of grass. And that stuff like you can talk about weather conditions, and if anything, I think they have a game, at least on offense. Keep in mind, they haven't scored less than 30 points in any game. Like, while we're talking, and you're right about the defense and how dominant they are, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and company, they haven't had a game, granted, albeit 5, where they haven't scored less than 30 points. I mean, it's just
Chico. They've trailed for 1 minute and 45 seconds so far this season.
Wow.
So yeah,
add that one. Now I don't feel so bad. Yeah, picking that. And at the same time, though, and I think we agree on this. And you kind of, I'm glad I had you on today for a variety of reasons. One, you're very good at what you do. You're a grinder, as I call Brad Ward a grinder in this business. But
always appreciate that.
The timing of this is perfect because you said what I said at the beginning of the show, and that is there's still a lot of football to be played. I don't look at the fans and go, why are they so upset? Because that's a 1-2 punch with Chubb and Watson. And then you look at the history of the Browns and the miscommunication and the dysfunction, and immediately when you hear how Kevin Stefanski, whether he intended to or not, said what he said, and then Deshaun, then it's like we're just trained. I mean, unfortunately, fans are just, here we go again. But the reality is, okay, it might not look pretty on Sunday. Chances are it's going to look bad on Sunday. But they're 2-3, and they will have then, 12 games left, a very long season left to be played, a lot of runway, and hopefully a healthy quarterback on the way at some point.
Yeah, you think, ideally he's ready to go next week. Now, we still don't know if that's going to be the case, right? So we'll see what happens with that. But either way, after this week, the schedule lightens significantly, and you have some winnable games there. And this, I mean, no matter what the outcome is on Sunday, let's try not to get
freeze up.
Everybody else hurt, right? And get out of there. Like, in a way, it feels like that a little bit, right? Like they're kind of punting this one,
like it's a bye,
second bye week, maybe. Yeah, the old double bye week routine. But there is a path. I'll say this: there is a path to victory. It's a small one. We'll see how they play, see how the defense plays, see what we get out of PJ Walker. The really interesting thing about this is because Shanahan is such a scholar and a guy that was birthed in the loins of the wide zone scheme, the same scheme that's very.
I love the way you birthed in the loins of the wide zone scheme. That he's got to. You know what? He's got to have that on his tombstone when
right.
He says goodbye.
Well, I mean, because his dad was basically the guy, right? Like that did it, and so he is like the guy with that. Well, that's what Stefanski runs, right? The Kubiak version of it, or he has. well, we've been waiting to see this new offense. I think it's very interesting and a little bit ironic, actually, kind of very ironic, that the week that Deshaun is not playing, they may be forced to play more RPO, more shotgun, more, motion, the offense that we've been waiting to see with PJ Walker, because it's not like you can go out there and run exactly what Kyle Shanahan knows so well against him. So maybe we see more of the offense that we've been waiting to see with Deshaun, and then he can, that would be a step in the right direction too, because that's kind of what I want them to lean into overall when Deshaun gets back. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So do you want to make a prediction? I almost feel like
Sure.
This is so weird. I don't even. And like I said, I don't know if I should apologize for it. I just feel like I'm punting it. I feel like I'm punting this game. But go ahead if you want to make a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that way too, but I think that there is a path to victory. I think it's a thin one, but I haven't given up on the game completely, but it does feel like a punted week, right? The old double bye week, as we said. But, I would say, I think I was thinking about it last night. I think I said 24-13, Niners cover, low scoring. Yeah, 24-13.
Okay.
Niners win.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. If the Browns can put 13 on the board, I'll be surprised on Sunday, and it's not. It's just it is what it is. But we'll see what happens. He is Brad Ward, contributor for the OBR. He's the host and producer of All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, All Eyes on Cleveland, but it's All Eyes, EYEZ on CLE podcast. We always enjoy talking to him. We appreciate his time. Brad, keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon, pal.
You're the best, Chico. Thanks for having me, brother.
All right. That is, again, Brad Ward. Follow him on Twitter at Ward on Sports. All right. We're going to step aside for a second. When we come back, there's one thing that we mentioned Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, want to talk about great minds in the game and great coaches, and he's phenomenal. Something in regards to Kyle Shanahan, somebody brought up to me earlier in the week that I meant to address earlier in the week and forgot, and I will when we come back, because I think it's very, very important to talk about, and we'll do that. We'll also talk about how you're supposed to react. This is baseball. How you're supposed to react when you do basically not have your best effort, and it's not to complain about 5 days off or anything like that. We'll talk about all of that, and we've got Pick 6 still to come because, yes, it is Friday, or as Bohm likes to say, Fry-yay. We will step aside, be back with more if you want to chime in at Chico Show CLE. Also on YouTube, you can follow the show as well, the Chico Borman Show, and wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and also on iHeartRadio. Back with more right after this on the Big Play Sports Network. Alrighty, welcome back, folks. If you need bet credits for football season, who doesn't? The Big Play Network is presented by Tipico Sportsbook. The Tipico Sportsbook app has your traditional bets like the money line, spread, and point totals, but also lock-in player props. Check out our Big Play boosts every single week to back your favorite Cleveland teams and athletes with the best odds in Ohio. Get in the action, load up for football season using promo code BIGPLAY150 or Chico150 to get $150 in bet credits on us, plus a $30 dog pound bet. Bet with the Big Play crew all season long with Tipico Sportsbook. We got Pick 6 coming up in just a moment, brought to you by Tipico. So somebody texted me earlier this week about Kyle Shanahan, and essentially it was along the lines of, like, they were talking about, things lamenting the past, shall we say. And as everyone knows by now, famously, Kyle Shanahan did like a PowerPoint presentation. I think there were like 30 of them, bullet points, to Jimmy Haslam on why he should be out of his contract, why he needs to be out of his contract. And he wasn't happy here. I think a lot of it was, first you brought in Johnny Manziel, then you're off to a decent start with Brian Hoyer, and I'm not saying that it was sustainable, but then you started to get, and this was, beauty of Ray Farmer, and I think, who was the other one that wanted to watch? Alex Shiner, that would watch. Wouldn't he show up? He'd show up waiting to watch film with, like, Mike Pettin. Like, he'd be in there at, like, 5 a.m. And like, he'd already be there when Pettin got in or something, and he'd be like, hey, Alec, what are you doing? Oh, I just going to watch some film.
Doing your job.
Well, no, I'm not blaming Pettin. Shiner, none of them. So anyway, that was when Shiner and Farmer were basically, they were pushing Johnny Manziel, like, let's go, let's get him in there. Well, one, as we know, he shouldn't have been in there in the first place. Two, he wasn't ready to go. Three, nobody was thinking Brian Hoyer was your savior, but you were playing decent ball. And then, the bottom falls out, as it always seems to fall out. But, so yes, Bohm.
Did you happen to catch wind of Kyle Shanahan's press conference this week where they asked him about his year in Cleveland?
What did he say?
He tried to dance around, basically talking about how awful it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost awkward because he starts with
Yeah. So, and this is one that, believe it or not, and I think when it's been warranted, I've had no problem criticizing him. And honestly, over the years, a lot of it has fallen on his shoulders. This is not one of those things I'm going to blame Jimmy Haslam for, though. Well, okay, in this regard, do I think that Alex Shiner and Ray Farmer from Jimmy Haslam were pushing, like, bug in the ear, hey, let's get Johnny Manziel out there? Because I am 100% convinced, and no one will ever convince me otherwise, that Jimmy Haslam absolutely wanted Johnny Manziel. There, no doubt that he wanted. But I think for those that say, like, because basically my buddy's point was, don't let him out of the contract. Like, why would you let him out of the contract? I mean, do you really want somebody who's unhappy, that doesn't want to be where he's at, hates who he's working for, hates who I shouldn't say working with, but really just the guys above him don't have a clue what they're doing. So he's basically like, whatever I come up with, whatever I try to do, it's going to be undermined, as is the case right now, because I've got, and I'm sure, I mean, how much do you think was it you that asked me that about in the PowerPoint? Do you think Kyle Shanahan brought up the idea of Johnny Manziel watching 0.0 minutes of film?
I did ask you that, yeah.
Yeah, and like, there's no doubt in my mind he did. I mean, and that's still, even when you hear that back in the documentary, you're still like, damn, no, how? How do you do that? Well, you're Johnny Manziel. And so, I mean, that's where if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I say, look, you drafted a guy, or your guys drafted a guy that wanted this guy, and now you're pushing him to play when he has no business and he knew he wasn't ready. I mean, these guys aren't stupid. And now the story comes out, and even, Joe Thomas telling the story recently on the Dan Patrick Show that, like, rookie mini camp, he couldn't even find himself to the facility then, and he was in Cleveland. When I say he couldn't find, he knew where it was. He wasn't going to show up. Like, that's your job now, bro. You're a pro. You're no longer in college. This isn't poli-sci at 3:30. Like, you've got to go. It's your job. You're an adult. He didn't get that. Well, you think Kyle Shanahan didn't know all of that stuff and then some of what was going on? And yet here he has to hear from Alex Shiner, who's probably wants to watch film with him, Ray Farmer, who was reading magazines to get ready, like you and I would read for fantasy football. That's what basically he was reading to get ready for the real draft. So he has to hear from these guys like, yeah, you know what? We should put Johnny Manziel in. I don't blame Kyle Shanahan one bit, and I also don't blame Jimmy Haslam for saying go ahead. Because if that guy would have stayed, we've had plenty of dysfunctional messes. That would have been next level. And no, I didn't want to, looking back on it, I work it out, right? Like, this guy's so talented, Kyle Shanahan, but it wasn't going to work. And I think Jimmy deep down knew that he was partly responsible for that, but I'm not going to blame Jimmy Haslam one bit for saying you can get out of your contract. And that's kind of what my buddy was saying. Well, hey, you have the power in that situation. Hold him to the contract. You want to make it even worse? Because Kyle Shanahan could have and would have made it 10 times worse, and he would have been justified. So, anyway, I just wanted to get to that. So, Kyle Shanahan, yes, back in Cleveland. I would like to see, I wonder, do you think somewhere, either in Kyle Shanahan's computer, Jimmy, do you think there is still somewhere in somebody's computer that PowerPoint presentation, Boom?
I do. I think it's got to exist somewhere. Maybe a flash drive, but I'm assuming it's Kyle's.
I do too. I so want that. Like, honestly, oh man, wouldn't you just love to read what he had in that PowerPoint? Like, and I think a lot of it was probably what we saw in the documentary, and like you said, the 0.0. I would love to know. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe it's one of those, no, you know what? Careful what you wish for, Chico. But I mean, at this point, we're pretty hardened Browns fans, right? We've been through a lot of shit here in Cleveland. But I feel like, you know what? My reward for being through all of that mess should be I get to listen, or I get to watch or see exactly word for word what Kyle Shanahan had in that PowerPoint presentation. Like, each bullet point. Because, I would think it was one of those where he knew, like, he wanted out, so it was kind of no holds barred, right? Like, all bets are off. He's going to throw it. Did he have something to say about Ray Farmer? I'm sure he did. Alex Shiner? I'm sure he did. I don't think so much Mike Pett. Like, I don't really fault Mike Pettin a whole lot either. And I'm not saying that I know he was the head coach. I don't think he wanted Johnny Manziel. He did want Justin Gilbert. That in and of itself is a big problem. But I would love to. I would absolutely, positively love to see and get my hands on that PowerPoint presentation that Kyle Shanahan presented to Jimmy Haslam.
Even Justin Gilbert, though, I don't think you could put that fully on Pettine because it's Farmer and his staff's responsibility to do the scouting and put in the work. And they didn't even ask the questions to Oklahoma State's coaching staff.
That was apparent. Yeah, but that's Shanahan or that's No, that was. Yeah, I mean, put it this way.
He was Pettine's guy. I'm just saying it's not all Pettine's fault. I think Ray Farmer is partially to blame there as well.
Well, of course. I mean, yeah, of course they all are. But I mean, Pettine, he wanted him. I mean, he was definitely like he loved his length. But to that end, yes, and I've said this time and again. And this is not to dwell on it because we're going to move on, I promise. But this is why Justin Gilbert and Johnny Manziel, but Justin Gilbert especially, is still to me one of the most glaring examples of just how bad it was under certain regimes. The idea that Oklahoma State had assistant coaches, and I it's come out numerous times. I think everybody should, if you don't know it by now, should know it. But Oklahoma State had assistant coaches that were like, if they would have just asked us, we would have told them. And before you say, oh, no, that's BS, they're going to sell their players. They wanted Justin Gilbert because it makes them look better. Yeah, to a degree, but they're not going to lie. They're not going to tell an out-and-out lie to an NFL guy or guys because their future, they have dreams, too, of getting to the NFL. You're not going to – they're not lying in that regard. And a lot of those guys from Oklahoma State said if they would have asked us about his work ethic, his focus, his all that other stuff, we would have told him everything. Because, again, the most famous or infamous line uttered from any Browns head coach was uttered by Mike Pettine the year after they drafted both Johnny and Justin. And he was at the Combine in Indianapolis, and he's like, well, Justin has some inner demons that he needs to work through. Coach? Yeah, go ahead. Did you say inner demons? Yes. I can't go any further on that, but yes, he has some inner. Okay, that would have been something you probably would have wanted to know going into a draft. I'm being sarcastic. Yeah, you definitely want to know, especially if you're going to take the dude and move up to get 8th overall.
Talking about
on second thought, maybe I don't want to see that.
Talking about infamous lines from Brown's press conferences, there are a bunch that come to mind. Internal discord is one. I think Freddie Kitchens had a number of great quotables that will live on in Brown's lore.
I think the Three Stooges one was pretty damn good with Banner and Lombardi.
Yeah. Even like
Jimmy thought it was funny, but nobody else did.
Remember when Sashi like purposely botched a trade for AJ McCarron back in the Hugh Jackson days?
Oh yeah.
Hugh Jackson, what's up, sports fan? One of the greatest greetings.
Hugh Jackson's here, baby. That's always a great one as well.
Oh man, so many years of turmoil.
Yeah, but anyway, I think I would. Yeah, I would. Give me that flash drive. Get a hold of it. Boom. If you get arrested, I will bail you out. But sneak into the Niners hotel, and if he's got it somewhere, find it, or just talk him into giving it to you, and then you give it to me because I want to see. I'm dying to see that PowerPoint.
So Chico, just this is our coworker, our esteemed coworker Rob, because I text him like timestamps, right, for clips to clip up for social media. He responded that there actually was no PowerPoint because there was an interview that Shanahan did a while ago, and he basically gave Pettine a piece of paper with like over 20 points of why he couldn't do this anymore.
No,
why he was done.
He went to Jimmy Haslam with it.
I'm just reading
Rob's
This is
wrong,
Rob's
but that's
contention.
okay. I love Rob, but he went to now whether it was on a flash drive or he went to Jimmy Haslam with it. It wasn't to Mike Pettin. It was to Jimmy Haslam that he went to. The here, let's bring this up.
Was it the Wickersham article? Seth Wickersham?
Shanahan PowerPoint. I can't believe I'm typing this in. It actually comes up. Kyle Shanahan, PowerPoint Browns. A 32-point presentation. Oh, okay. So he's saying it was all on paper. I gave a number of points, 32 of them, which you guys were accurate on. Well, a 32-point presentation, not PowerPoint. Well, then find the piece of paper that it's on. First of all, hats off to Rob for listening so intently to the show. It was all on paper. I gave a number of points. Yeah, he gave them. I'm pretty sure he gave them to Jimmy, though. I don't think Pettin could make that call whether he gets out of his contract.
Run it up the flagpole.
I mean, I'm sure he could have. Hey, Jimmy, can I schedule a meeting with you? All right, let me see. A list of and okay, so now they're saying it was with a bunch of them, but Jimmy Haslam was there. 32 items to his bosses about why he should be let out of his contract. It was a good idea, too, because then in, obviously, 2017, helped lead the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Granted, we all know what happened, but anyway. I love this part. Shanahan said presenting the list to the Browns was one of the hardest decisions of his life, but he knew there were issues with the team that didn't bode well for his career. Oh, my gosh. All right. We'll take a break. Boom. What are you doing?
I'm reading an article on it. So he gave the points to Coach Pettin first, and then he gave it to the owner
Okay,
and
does
GM.
it matter?
I was just reading you. That's what I was
My
doing.
God. Yeah, it was a 32-point presentation.
Yeah.
Are we good?
We're not very good right now, no.
No, I know. Because we got to go to you for fair or foul, which means it's going to
Well,
suck.
no, it's you. What?
Well, no, we're not doing it. Yo, you're doing it. It's,
I'm not prepared at all.
What's the difference between that or any other day?
I'm usually prepared.
No, you're not.
Well, I have questions usually.
Oh, my God.
I even wrote it on the description, inverse fair or foul. I was ready for it, Chico.
All right. Well, I'll do it. If I have to do your job too, then I'll do that. That's no problem. All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more, including inverse fair or foul and the pick six brought to you by our friends at Tipico. Chico Borman Show. More to come right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty. Welcome back on a Friday afternoon. Chico Borman Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. Normally on Fridays, we have Bill Landis talking about Ohio State as the Buckeyes get ready for Purdue. We don't have him today. He had a luncheon that he had to attend. We are hoping Ohio State can get through Purdue, of course, before the big one against Penn State. But it is on the road. They are expecting a little rain. I always get nervous when it's one of those like Purdue, Illinois, Michigan State, on the road, in the rain. We'll see. The running game still struggling, and getting off the field on third down still an issue, but on defense. But we'll see what they're able to do tomorrow. High noon, that game is on. Do you have Peacock, Bohm?
No, I don't. I'm really bummed about that. It's so frustrating. I just want to see my Buckeyes, Chico.
Can't you you got it. Who do you have to talk? Oh, you've got it on your phone, don't you?
Peacock?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Can you do that? Oh,
Yeah,
I guess you could.
You can stream on your phone.
Yeah, but Peacock costs money, right? You need like a paid subscription.
Everything costs money, Bohm.
Looks like it's going to be a Paul Keels day for me tomorrow.
Well,
The voice of the Buckeyes.
Could be worse.
It could, yeah.
Paul Keels.
Hopefully Jim Lachey doesn't like cheer over him too loudly.
I like that. I love that about Jim Lachey.
I think it's hilarious, but it feels like it's not like good broadcast etiquette.
You know who used to do that a lot? And honestly, I don't think Jeff Logan is still there, is he?
I don't even know that name.
You've never heard of Jeff Logan?
Is he like the previous?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if he's still. I know he was sick for a while, so now I'm kind of nervous about bringing it up. But he would more. I know what you're talking about with Lachey, but he would more than. Is he still with them?
The wrong Jeff Logan is coming up.
I just saw the Jeff Logan that's coming up. Yeah, that's the right Jeff Logan.
Looks like he was a little before my time.
Yeah, I don't think he's still with Ohio State though. He was with the broadcast team for a while. Back in the days of like Terry Smith, and I think he was for a little while with Paul Keels and his team. But he would really like an official would make a bad call, I'd be like, "What the?" Like Keels would be like, 2nd and 8, Ohio State. Oh, we got to. What the? Logan in the background. It's great.
Amazing.
All right. It is time for Pick 6 on this Friday. We get 2 from the college football slate, 4 from the NFL side of things, including, yes, the Browns. What's the line up to now? According to Tipico, last I heard it was 10. It was at 11. I don't know if it went down.
Oh, wow. That's even more than when I last checked, because last I saw it was 8, like sometime yesterday.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's gone. Well, and again, keep in mind that the news came out about Watson, so.
I'd still probably take the 49ers if it were 14.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's not off the board. But anyway, we will pick the Browns and Niners. It won't be pleasant, but we will do it at the end of this. All right, let's get her started. From the college landscape, nobody is paying enough attention. I know the Pac-12 is a mess, and there's more. By the way, more stories coming out about the Pac-12. Larry Scott and how he fumbled the hell out of everything to do with the conference. But Oregon and Washington obviously will be joining the Big Ten soon. But Oregon is at Washington. The Huskies are laying 3. This comes down for me, and I haven't watched Oregon a lot. I have watched Washington with Michael Penix. If I got to go with a quarterback between him and Bo Nix, I'm going Penix all day long. Nix is okay, and I think ultimately Washington played at home. I'm going with the Huskies laying 3. I'm not saying they win big, but I do think I do think they win that game comfortably. We'll say in the 10-point area.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that Pac-12, Chico, quietly becoming one of the one of the strong conferences in college football. It's a shame that they're going to be broken up here in the near future, but
I would say the Pac-12 right now, when you look at it, okay, Colorado, which we know is no longer, we knew that it was going to happen the way it did, but they got off to the hot start and, Dion but Colorado is, I think, 7th or 8th in the conference. If you look at the standings, Colorado, I don't want to say they're a bona fide top 25 team because their defense is terrible, but with a healthy Travis Hunter, they're a fringe top 25 team, and that's the 8th team in the conference. You start factoring in, Oregon, Washington, USC, and more on USC here in a second. I mean, you've got a lot of really good football teams out there that nobody is really paying much attention to, and some of it I blame on Larry Scott and the folks that run the Pac-12 conference because they made a mess of this whole thing a long time ago, and because the conference has deteriorated. But in terms of right now, I hope this is not one of those whoever loses this game, they're out of the playoff picture. That would not be fair. They would for teams in the SEC, if this were Bama and LSU or something, I'm just going back years, you would say, well, you know what, even if Bama loses or even if LSU loses, their chances for a national championship shouldn't go out the window. Well, I'm going to say the same thing here. I mean, Oregon's 8th in the country, Washington's 3. The loser of this game should not be out of the I don't think they will be, but I'm just saying I don't think they should be because I think the Pac-12 right now, as far as depth, maybe not. I think Georgia is still, when Georgia wants to be Georgia, they're top of the heap. Big 12, you got Texas, Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean, they might not have the best of the best, but as far as top to bottom depth, Pac-12, ironically enough, I think is the best one out there. So I don't want to see the loser of Oregon, Washington kind of get that, that label of out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that would be unfair to them, and that would be penalizing them for scheduling a big game. And I wholeheartedly agree with you in that regard, Chico.
All right, USC, speaking of the Pac-12, 10th in the country. So we've already talked about 3 of the 4 teams we're talking about. Oregon 8th, Washington 3rd, USC 10th. They travel to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. I don't know what to make of the Fighting Irish. I feel like with USC, you know what you're getting. They're not going to give you anything defensively. I mean, they're terrible defensively. Offensively, Caleb Williams he's a stud. I mean, he's a playmaker times 10. And that offense is when they get rolling, it's tough to stop. I guess what this comes down to for me, I know Notre Dame's at home, and I know Notre Dame is actually a 2.5-point favorite. What am I missing here? Just that they're at home?
I think that, you know what, I feel a little bit shaky about USC this season. And you mentioned Williams. He's phenomenal. Shout out to former Buckeye commit Zachariah Branch, electric weapon in that USC offense. But
yeah,
Chico, they've blown
shout
some
out
pretty,
to Zachariah Branch.
They've blown a few significant leads.
Yeah, but that's also a lot of those are in conference against teams that have does Notre Dame, I guess what I'm getting at, does Notre Dame have the firepower? I'll tell you what, now I'm going to mark that. On Tipico, I've got it so double check this, but I've got Notre Dame as a 2.5-point favorite. And again, I realize that it's in South Bend. I'm going to take USC all day in that one, and I'm going to say USC. I like Marcus Freeman, and I'm not saying Notre Dame's a terrible football team, but what happened to them? It was just you thought they were going to be getting better, and now it just seems like they're can they keep up with USC? No, I think in the end you see USC score about 35, 40 points. Maybe even north of that. Notre Dame's lucky to go half of that. I'll take USC in a rout on the road at South Bend. Now watch, Notre Dame's going to win by 3 touchdowns. But
Yeah, I think USC covers for sure, Chico. With that said, I'm interested to see how Hartman's experience coming in as one of them with some of the most games played under his belt amongst all college football quarterbacks. I'm wondering how that's going to play against a defense that could very easily be exposed. And I think that can't be discounted, and that's why I do have high expectations for Notre Dame to keep this one close at the very least and put up a good contention. But I don't think USC is going to go undefeated this year. Like there's too many shaky aspects about them aside from having the best quarterback in college football.
Oh, I already said their defense is atrocious. But the point is, does Notre Dame have the offense? I don't know. And then I think if you get into a track meet with USC, and that's what this one I think is shaping up to be, unless, maybe weather is a factor. Maybe it's crap and weather in South Bend. I don't know. But like, if you're telling me that like Caleb Williams and that offense is going to be operating at full power for the most part,
hard to stop.
I can't see Notre Dame being it. This is to the point now where I want to make sure. I feel like there's something I'm missing with that line. And again, you're right. USC is absolutely terrible, or USC is absolutely terrible against on defense. But that seems. Yeah,
now,
I'm looking at it again.
This may be the toughest test that USC has faced thus far defensively. Like, this might be the toughest defensive opponent that Caleb Williams is looking at, but you're right. On that offensive side of the ball, like, the Irish's best players are running backs. And are they going to be able to command the line of scrimmage in the run game? Maybe they are, because that USC defense is vulnerable.
But their O-line is Notre Dame's offensive line has been bad.
Isn't it crazy? Because they were saying, going into that week against Ohio State, this is the best offensive line in college football.
Yeah, well, and Lou Holtz was also saying that. They ain't. Okay, well, I'm taking USC all day. If I were, I would bet not only my money, but I'm going to bet your money and a few other people's money on USC big. All right, to the NFL slate: Ravens at Titans. I feel like this is one the Ravens storm back and okay, hey, we're the Ravens, but the Titans at home. Titans are getting 4. If it's 2.5, I probably take the Ravens. I see this as a field goal game. I think the Ravens win, but I think the Titans play them very close. I'm going to say this is like a 23-20, 26-23 type game. So give me the Titans plus the 4 points, and Ravens winning outright, though.
I really don't know how to feel about this Ravens team, but what I do know is I don't feel great about Tennessee. I'm very, very unlikely to pick Tennessee in any sort of pick 'em, unless maybe you're playing like Denver or something, but or Chicago perhaps.
I'm really not sure about what to think about Tennessee, but I wouldn't pick them unless they're playing Denver. I like that.
Yeah, at least with Baltimore, you know what they're capable of, and I really expect them to win this one by more than that spread. So I'm going to take the Ravens to cover that, Chico.
Okay, Lions at Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lions obviously seem for real. The Buccaneers at home are 3-point underdogs. I feel like they're almost daring you to take Tampa Bay. And I'm not saying like the Lions necessarily lose this game. I feel like they might be due for a bit of a let-up. And Tampa Bay at home. Oh, boy. Nah, I can't. You know what? I can't go against Dan Campbell. I can't. I think on the road, I'm going to say they win by 7. So give me the Lions laying the 3 points in Tampa.
And firstly, let me just say I'm really happy for Baker Mayfield and the fact that he's been able to carve out a nice little place for himself in the league. With that said, I'm not buying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a contender right now. Whereas with the Lions, I think they very well could be.
Oh, I'm not. Tampa Bay's not a contender.
Yeah, no, but it's just like their success. They're one of the they're playing like one of the better teams in the league right now if you look at their record. But with the Lions, they seem legit to me, and I don't want to bet against them if Baker Mayfield is the guy you got to be worried about.
Okay, so you talk about games that you don't want to touch, you don't know where they're going to go, and this necessarily isn't one. Again, these are not games that I like. When we do pick six, these are not games that I like necessarily, but games that I think are very intriguing, interesting, and this is one where I don't know where to go. The Cowboys on the road in L.A. taking on Herbert and the Chargers. The Chargers are dogs at home, getting 2 points. The Cowboys are licking their wounds after that San Francisco debacle where they lose 42-10. I think Dallas is still – this could be because I don't think Dallas is good enough to just say, oh, well, they got their asses handed to them last week and they're going to come out this week and be ready to go and show you who's boss. I think the Chargers at home, I'm going to pick the Chargers outright in this game, and I know that's dangerous with that defense, but I don't think the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, as our buddy Dante Whitner says, Dak Prescott sucks. So give me the Chargers getting 2 at home against the Cowboys.
Yeah, Chico, I think Dak has to be feeling a little bit of that pressure, and I do anticipate that he will bounce back. I mean, obviously coming off a matchup against the toughest defense in the NFL, it's only going to be up from there, you would think. While I'm really inclined to pick the Chargers here, I don't have a lot of faith in them either because they've been botching big leads all year long. I mean, we're only 5 weeks in, but
their coach might be gone at the end.
Yeah,
I hate to say it because they
just when you have Justin Herbert out there and that taking the snaps, you've got to be better. You've got to be playing more consistently. I'm gonna take the Cowboys to bounce back in this one, Chico. Only a 2-point spread. I think they'll cover it.
But it's their defense. It's the Chargers defense right now that, I mean, they went out and the entire reason they got the guys they did in the offseason was to prevent explosive. I mean, Brandon Staley, like his calling card was, okay, you can say he's a defensive guy, but his calling card was you're not going to get explosive plays on this guy. That's exactly what the Chargers allow week in and week out. But I think Eckler's back this week. I think that's huge. So Austin Eckler back, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen. Yeah, I think the Cowboys are still, and judging by the social media out there, the Cowboys are still really focused on the San Francisco 49ers and what they're saying and what they're doing. And so, yeah, give me the
Good
Chargers. Point. Give me the Chargers. All right, finally, here we go. I feel dirty doing this one because, and I have no problem being honest when I have to be honest. 49ers coming to town Sunday, 1 o'clock, Cleveland Browns Stadium. This originally started out with Deshaun Watson thought to be playing as, I could be wrong, I want to say like a 2.5, 3-point spread, 49ers being favored on the road. And now it has jumped to, at last check, and let me just do a quick check here, just to be sure. Okay, now it's 9.5. Okay, so let's go 9.5. Browns getting 9.5 points at home against the San Francisco 49ers. If the I'll just be quick. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. San Francisco 28, Browns 7.
Chico, I think that defense, the Browns defense has some potential to make it challenging for San Francisco, but you're not going to get complimentary football. And that's the problem, is when you're not getting production out of all three units, it's just not, that defense isn't going to be able to hold up. And so I would probably pick the 49ers to win, even if the spread, or to cover, even if the spread was like upwards of 2 touchdowns, maybe even 20 points.
Okay, let's go a little bit further with this game. Do they keep Christian McCaffrey? Like, does Christian McCaffrey go off?
Probably.
Is this a Brock Purdy? Now, granted, you look at that Cowboys game, it was extremely efficient. He was 17 of 24, 4 touchdowns. And again, and something we've talked about all week, Brock Purdy spreading the ball around. This is not, he was hitting George Kittle. He was hitting Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Juszczyk. I mean, he's hitting everybody. But who's you think, I wonder too. McCaffrey strikes me. I think this defense, I'm not saying they're not disciplined because they are, but they are super aggressive. And I think it's just, you saw against Pittsburgh in week 1, and the Browns defense is better than Pittsburgh. But Mike Tomlin made that point over and over and over again about, man, we've got to be good in space. If we don't tackle in space, there is no guy tougher to bring down in space. Well, Tyreek Hill. Second toughest guy to bring down in space, I think, is Christian McCaffrey. I think he goes nuts. I hope not, but I feel like he goes nuts in this game.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're able to stop the run, I think San Francisco's still extremely good at getting their playmakers the ball in their hands through the screen game. Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in screen passes. Yeah, it's going to be tough to contain him, Chico. By the way, just tangent here. Another player who it seems like impossible to tackle in space, Bijan Robinson. The way that guy makes some people miss is just crazy. But I digress.
Sorry. Oh, Bijan. I mean, you saw that coming out of college too. I wondered because there were some guys saying Bijan Robinson, generational, like you only get a back like him once every 10 years. Some guys were saying. And my immediate thought to that was, you know what? I think we do this every year with certain guys, certain running. But then when you watch Bijan Robinson play, like he really is a guy that is he's making a lot of guys look foolish on defense. And this is a rookie. He can do it all. Obviously, he can run the football, but I mean, he's great out of the backfield. Yeah, he's another one. He might be third on the list, actually. But Tyreek Hill, to me, is you can't cover him. And here's the thing. You can say, like, well, you bracket him and you double team him. Maybe it doesn't matter because all you got to do is just get the ball in his hands some way, somehow. He can take it, a 3-yard, a 5-yard out and turn it into an 80-yard touchdown. He is just, I mean, he gets on my nerves at times, but the dude is just frightening when you're trying to stop him. It's almost like he is virtually unstoppable on the football field. So,
yeah, I mean, he kind of changed the game. Just like he is the like quintessential NFL speedster, unlike anyone who I've ever seen before him. Now, it's amazing watching how constantly he's able to get open just with that sheer speed.
And I would say this too, when it comes to and Patrick Mahomes, obviously in that offense, they bounce back just fine without him. I'm not saying this is by no means saying that but you saw like when the Browns played the Chiefs and they had Tyreek Hill. Every time he goes in motion, somebody soils themselves because they're like, oh God. Now, I mean, everybody's just like, oh no, that falls on. You don't want to be that guy that gets matched up on him. And if you are that guy that gets matched up on him, you're like praying that you've got help. But even if you got help, both of you still might look stupid. And then all 11 guys might look stupid because he's that dangerous. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Spencer Strider handles adversity and handles being ousted. And this is a young guy in Major League Baseball. But Spencer Strider handles it as good as anyone I've seen with comments he made after the Braves were ousted last night. We'll talk about that. We'll wrap it up. I might just do like a one-question fair or foul for Bohm. That's it. It's a Chico Borman Show. More to come on a Friday right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show, closing moments on this Friday. And look, it has been kind of doom and gloom this week with not only the 49ers coming to town, but also the Browns getting the news and was everybody getting the news that Deshaun Watson will not play. But still a lot of football to be played after this week. That said, it could be a bloodbath on Sunday.
Do you think there's anything the Browns could do, Chico, that would maybe give you some sort of positivity here moving forward? Like if PJ Walker comes out and maybe he's not great, but he doesn't suck. Does that give you any semblance of positivity to take away from this game?
Yeah, I mean, put it this way. Considering they have been a team that is, forget about the opponent, they've turned you heard Andrew Berry at the bye week. What was his biggest concern? Turnovers. If PJ Walker doesn't turn the ball over and the Browns play a clean game and still lose, I'll be cool with that. I mean, I'm not trying to set the bar too low. I'm just being realistic. I don't think they win the game. But that's something that Deshaun Watson there, PJ Walker there, Dorian Thompson-Robinson there, Spurgeon Wynn there. Like, you've got to take care of the football. And they have not done that. So, yeah, that would be very encouraging because, it goes without saying. Against teams like San Francisco, and I know it's kind of cliche, against teams like the 49ers, you have to play a complete game. You have to play a damn near perfect game. And if you don't, even if you do, you can still lose the game. But yeah, that would be, especially if Deshaun Watson, I mean, let's face it. Is he going to be ready for Indianapolis? I don't know. Is he going to be ready for Seattle? I don't know. It could be another 2 or 3 weeks.
I got a fair foul for you, Chico.
Uh-oh.
Fair foul. At least one Browns rusher, will surpass 30 rushing yards on the day Sunday.
30? Yeah, I'll go fair on that. I think the better question is, fair or foul, a Browns receiver other than Amari Cooper catches a touch, because there's only one touchdown pass to a wide receiver this year, and it's Amari Cooper. So do they actually get a touchdown pass, period? And is it with somebody other than Amari Cooper?
Yeah, and now I'm seeing, it looks like Cedric Tillman's going to be out for this game as well. You have to wonder, who has P.J. Walker gotten the most reps with in this Browns offense as a guy who's been...
All right, fair or foul, Bohm? Are the Browns not conceding, but are they definitely playing it safe when it comes to this game with guys that are borderline or a little banged up?
Yeah, I think the Browns are all in on a risk-averse approach here because it's hard to have faith when you're going up against who is very, very clearly right now the best team in football, and you don't even have your starter. You have other guys dealing with injuries. I completely respect this decision by Cleveland because I think in the long game, this is the right approach. You're trying to win the war, not just a battle.
Okay. Yeah, and I think hopefully that's what we got across today. 1, I'm a hothead. 2, the Browns, even if they get their asses kicked on Sunday, and they might very well get their asses kicked on Sunday, there is still a lot of football to be played. And this is still a talented football team, but just get healthy, Deshaun. Get healthy, get better, not only wellness-wise, football, everything, because it's just, this would be a game where even if you had to start P.J. Walker, okay, if you had Nick Chubb, I still don't know if I'd pick them, but there's a guy that can, what do we say? He covers up a ton of warts. You can run the ball, but I don't know. I mean, somebody might have more than 30 yards, but are they really going to be able to settle in and just run the ball at will? I'd love to say that they will. I hope they will. I don't think they will. All right, let me close on this. So the Atlanta Braves were ousted, and this is the beauty of baseball, I guess. They play 162 games. And sometimes it's all for naught. You can win over 100, you can win over 110, and you can still be ousted. You look at the Dodgers the last 4 years, and they haven't won less than 100. I think a couple of those they had more than 110, and haven't done anything. So, last 3 years, actually. So the Braves had a magical season. They put up ridiculous numbers on the offensive side of the ball, tied the home run record for a single season, broke the record for slugging percentage over 5. Ronald Acuna with an alien-like performance on the bases and with the power, but the Braves are going home. Spencer Strider started the game last night, and this is what he said when asked about, because this has been a hot topic. Well, the playoff format and the fact that if you're a top seed, you've got to wait 5 days. I hope veterans take note of this. Spencer said, quote, "The people trying to use the playoff format to make an excuse for the results they don't like are not confronting the real issue. You're in control of your focus, your competitiveness, your energy. If having 5 days means you can't make the adjustment, you have nobody to blame but yourself." End quote. It's not to say that it doesn't have an impact. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't talk about it. But some people are really blowing this way out of proportion. Like, oh, if these top teams lost and the Dodgers and the Braves both went down in the wild card round, there was, sweeps everywhere. And, then that's got to mean this. Like, if A happens and that means B. Not necessarily. Booney says it all the time. You get hot at the right time. And conversely, if you're the Dodgers, like I said, as bad as their pitching was, and it was horrible. I mean, you couldn't have between Kershaw, Bobby Miller, and Lance Lynn, you couldn't. I don't think you could imagine a worse start. The 3 guys combined for 4 2/3 and gave up 13 runs. An ERA of like 25. But my biggest takeaway with the Dodgers is Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, they didn't show up. But that said, Spencer Strider's right. Like, if you can't get they had 5 days off, they were rusty. Well, I don't know. Then what do you got to do to get rid? That's BS. You want to talk about it, that's fine. But I love the fact that a player and a guy that took it on the chin in that loss, and a young player, nonetheless, Spencer Strider says, forget about it. If having 5 days off means you can't make the adjustment, you have nobody to blame but yourself. And those are words to live by as we part on this Friday edition of the Chico Borman Show. Thanks to Brad Ward for joining us. Browns and 49ers coming up on Sunday. Just remember, kids, there's a lot of football left to be played, and this one could be very ugly. Does that make you feel good? I don't know. Fair or foul, Bohm? With Halloween approaching, Friday the 13th is a real thing. You will avoid things like black cats, ladders, mirrors, all that sort of thing. Or
definitely don't want to step on any cracks, Chico.
Do you personally do take that in? Because
I try not to, but it lingers. The thought lingers. I can't
now
say...
it definitely does, now that I brought it up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm really not, and I'm also not a big Halloween guy, but what I think is interesting is, like, it's one of those where if you do like Halloween, you really, really, really like Halloween. Like, all kids should love Halloween. But I'm saying like adults. I could see you being a guy that loves Halloween.
Well, I love free candy. That's for sure.
No, see, I see you wanting, like, laughing hysterically at all the different Halloween outfits.
I saw something about Halloween decorations that went too far, where this house looked like it was like burning, like it was on fire, and it was all just decoration. But I can appreciate it, and I love clever costumes. I would never wear them myself at this point. Unless maybe I'm performing on stage, because that's kind of cool when you dress up for Halloween during a gig. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate it.
All right. We're out of time. And boom, don't step on any cracks, black cats, ladders. You shouldn't be stepping on black cats, but you should try to avoid. If you're brazen enough to step on a black cat and a crack, well then
Not my favorite pastimes.
I can't help you. All right, we'll talk to you again. Actually, I'm off on Monday. I will talk to you on Tuesday with the Bold Bald Breakdown with my buddy Nick Shook. Until then, make it a great weekend. Go Browns! Boom.
Woo!
All right, we'll be back. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. See you.